It moves, it steals, it breathes and builds. It takes my hand and warms my feet. It soothes, then kills. It sings and fills my heart, my head. It tones off key. It whelps, it groans, labors unknown, enslaves my soul, a practice thief. True praise is scant, a sycophant. It pens kind words behind sharp teeth. I wrote that years ago. I'm not really sure how long ago I wrote that. My head wasn't in the best place. I won't get into any labels, but of course, there's a label for all of us. Something that makes us human always has to be labeled with something negative. Nobody's perfect, and yet we get lost behind labels. Anyway, 10, 11, 15 years ago, I don't know, maybe I wrote that. I think I was talking about life. I think it's still true. But it doesn't have to be so dark. I didn't realize way back then that I had cancer that was in a smoldering state, waiting to come out and put things into perspective. I did that. And I'm alright with it. I call it my accountability partner because it just puts things in perspective, you know? You got a job you don't like. You could have cancer. You wish you could buy a house. You could have cancer. finally made it to the campground. I'm pouring sweat. Everything's so difficult right now. It takes a long time to recover from stem cell transplant. I don't have any wind anymore. In October of 2019, I was jogging. It hurt, and I was losing wind. I just chalked it up to getting older. But by December, I found out about the multiple myeloma. So now I'm having a hard time doing little tasks. So I'm setting up my tent, and I had to take a break. And it's just an overnight stay. It's like 13 miles from my house. I didn't bring any extra clothes. And now the only clothes I have are wet with sweat. Where the temperature is dropping, it's not likely gonna dry out. Oh well. Like I said, I live right down the road. I've got a hammock with an insect net. I don't know. If I put it up, I'll put it up tomorrow morning and something like that. I'm not gonna put it up tonight. I'm just too tired. I think I'm gonna sleep comfortable though. It's a one-man tent. I've got a mattress for it, and I like firm surfaces. My lower back likes it. But anyway, I'm gonna try to record some stuff and make a video that's not as heavy as the previous two. We'll see what we come up with. I'll take a breather, finish putting the tent together, and the mattress in, the pillow, sleeping bags. Tonight I'm gonna sleep under the stars, under the trees. One thing I did not realize was I like the embankment that I'm up against, but I didn't realize that at the very top of that embankment I can see every car that rides by, and I'm like, man, I hope they don't wreck, because they're gonna land right on top of me. I guess when it gets later in the day, the noise will die down. I couldn't work out the camping trip I was hoping for, which was like out in the middle of nowhere with nobody around. But this will be fun. It's fun. I just gotta get the energy to put it all together. Ow. Back hurts. But we'll see. first time moto camping. My intent is to tell stories, experiences that I've had. Some of them kind of rough, not all of them. Some of them are pretty good. So I'd like to talk about my daughter. When I was 16 years old, I was a different person. I won't get into that, but I was young and very short-sighted, and I didn't know that I would be responsible for bringing a life into the world, and that life, because of my actions and because of my youth and my immaturity and irresponsibility, and I guess the list goes on, I wouldn't be able to provide a solid home environment. I don't want to get into the details because people have a right to their privacy, and I haven't asked permission to share other people's part in this story. So I'm just going to say that I think I was just turned 17. There were people, let's just go ahead and say it, white people, black people, different people who wanted to just kill me. As I said in the previous video, I'm 54 years old now. So back when I was in high school, in the particular town I grew up in, there was a lot of racism. And I qualify racism and prejudice as an act or a belief system or a thought process that has nothing to do with your skin tone. Meaning, I don't see racism as something that one so-called race can be guilty of. I think as long as people have egos, there will always be racism, no matter the shade of your skin. I'm a firm believer that there's one race. I'm a firm believer that we all came from Adam and Eve, that we're all same flesh and blood. I think people have light hair, dark hair, blonde hair, brown hair, red hair, blue eyes, green eyes, brown eyes, you know, and different tones of skin. I think that's what makes humanity beautiful. I don't like categorizing myself as white. My daughter's mother is black. I think that narrows us down to a thought process that a lot of people have and are wrong about. Anyway, my daughter, her mother's a black lady, and there were white people and black people who wanted me dead, and they wanted to beat me up. They wanted to hurt me. I've got a lot of stories there. To be chased from high school football games by 5 people, to go to a store to buy clothes, and 2 guys leaning on the wall outside recognized me and start threatening me, to have people roll up in my yard and threaten my mom. And the stories go on and on and on. And it didn't make any sense to me. still doesn't. But I was intimidated. And I ended up just paying child support. I was barely able to do that, but I did. And then she got old enough to where it was no longer required, and I still really wasn't there for her. I'm not sure in which way she needed me to be there for her. She's very independent, very strong woman. She doesn't need anyone, but it doesn't free me of my responsibility. But my daughter is a very beautiful woman, very strong. She's a mother. She works hard. I can't take any credit for any of that because I'm not the one that raised her. But I do see parts of myself in her, and I'm encouraged by that. I remember one time she told me, she said, "You don't know what it feels like to have your friends call you a white bitch." That's the quote. I'm not much of a cusser. I'm just quoting. And I thought, that's got to be a hurtful thing. I don't know the half of what she's been through, and she doesn't know half of what I've been through. But I do know that ego, prejudice, is what kept us apart. I remember being young and wanting to find out if she wanted to live with me. I went to the child support office, and here's another sensitive part of the story. I'll just say that when my daughter was left with her mother's mother, because that's where she had grown up. That's who she had grown up with. No one told me. Child support agency, they didn't tell me when her mother had to leave, and so her grandmother took full custody. No one told me. I wasn't even given an opportunity to be a part of that process. I found out 4, maybe 5 years later. And the way I found out was I went to buy a car, and nobody wanted to do business with me. And I had my brother with me, and we were looking at cars. I finally found one that I really liked, but the interest rate was so high. And I remember my brother went in to talk to the salesman. When it came out, he said, "Something's wrong." He said, "The salesman just said he wouldn't let a man like you," let me see if I can remember how he said it. He said he would rather have an ex-murderer sleep in his house than to do business with a man like me. And I'm like, what? What is that about? I have no idea what that's about. And so I had a friend that was a car dealer, and I asked him if he would show me my credit report. And when he did, it said I had 2 children. I was $10,000 behind in child support. And what the child support agency had done was I was paying child support to the case folder, case file that I had always been paying it to. But the child support agency illegally took it out of that file, put it in another file that belonged to the grandmother, and then distributed her a check from there. So essentially, one of them they couldn't keep tabs on because it was illegal, but it was in my name. And the other one was empty all the time because they were taking the money out and not giving it to the mother, but giving it to this illegal case file and then giving it to the grandmother. So it looked like I had 2 children and I was $5,000 in $5,000 behind a piece, and I looked like a deadbeat dad. And I remember paying child support. I had a seasonal job, and seasonal meaning you didn't make full hours when it was out of season. I worked at a retreat, and so you wouldn't get a full check. And I remember child support, you know, they got my money, as they should have, before I ever got my check. And I remember after working 2 weeks, I'd get a $25 check. And I remember my wife and I, we wouldn't have oil for heat. I remember we just had to sit with the oven door open, sit in the kitchen with the oven door open just to try to get warm. And I'd bring home $25 in 2 weeks. And here I was paying my child support and having people like this say they'd rather have an axe murderer sleep in their house. And so when I confronted the child support agency on it, their response was, and this I'll never forget, you can't sue child support agency in Georgia, and besides, we thought it was better for her to be with her own kind. And that was the quote. And I thought, I am her kind. I'm her dad. I wanted her to be with me if she wanted to. I certainly wasn't going to try to force it. I just wanted to have the opportunity. But I was never given the opportunity. And not only that, when I tried to be responsible and pay child support, it was taken and misappropriated. And I was given a bad reputation. The relationship between a dad and his daughter was destroyed by racism. Does it really matter what color the person was? It's all about ego, man. But that was in the past. Now here we are. We have a relationship now, and we don't see each other much, we don't talk much, but we respect each other and we love each other. We were just cheated. We were cheated out of a great opportunity. And I find myself, now that I've got this diagnosis, I find myself realizing how much time has been stolen, how much I've messed up myself, how much has been stolen, but in the middle of all of it, there's beautiful stuff. Like I keep saying, man, there's beauty in the imperfections. My daughter certainly grew up, turned out to be a wonderful woman. I remember when my dad passed away, you know, she made a total effort to come visit him in the hospital. And I went to visit him one day, and somebody at the hospital called her and told her that, or texted her and told her that I was there. And she came right over to the hospital and hung out with me beside my dad as my dad was dying, you know. Those are the things that people cannot steal from you. I just wish people didn't have to deal with racism and the ignorance involved with prejudice to prejudge. I read a couple of books on memetics, and I enjoy that topic. And memetic is like a mind virus. It's like you pick a thought process or a belief system from those that you're surrounded by, and it imprints itself on you, and it shapes your life. And if you can recognize your mimicking behavior, if you can recognize that, and then ask yourself, is this you? Is this really you? Are these your thoughts? Is this really the way you feel? Or are you just honoring something that was passed down to you from parents or friends or family? You know, the Bible speaks about generational curses. And I used to think, man, that's not fair. But then I saw something somewhere that said, you have the power to break your generational curse. The curse is potentially, probably, a mimetic behavior. Tradition. Just honoring your mother and your father does not mean honoring when they were wrong. I've recognized a lot of mimetic behavior of my own, and I've struggled to overcome things that were imprinted on me at an early age, and to find out what I really think, what I really feel. And I'm careful with my son to encourage him to think for himself, to create his own boundaries, but to not let those boundaries be built by ego, but instead by truth, and at least seeking out the truth. So many relationships are shot, just destroyed before they even get a chance because of mimetic behavior. I'm not trying to encourage anybody to think like me. I'm hoping that these videos will provide for my son a video diary of his dad's thoughts. You know, whether cancer takes me or old age takes me, I just hope that one day my son will be able to watch these videos and get a side of me that nobody else ever had. I don't have a lot of friends, and the ones that I do have, I don't really talk that deep to. Nobody wants to sit and listen to a person just ramble. So I'll do these videos and keep them short. Tell stories, and hopefully they'll be of value to somebody. But hopefully my son. I'm camping out tonight. There's a lot of people here, but it's relatively quiet. We'll see how the morning looks on this mountaintop.